Okay, I think we can slowly get started with today's webinar. Welcome everyone again to today's webinar about crowdfunding by Philanthropia. My name is Eva. I think maybe you all already know me from past webinars. We do these on a monthly basis, so you have many chances of joining us for webinars about different topics. So today is going to be about crowdfunding. I'm going to start sharing my screen and the presentation. One second. And just a couple of housekeeping rules. So you will have the chance to ask questions at the end, and it would be great if you could use the Q&A box at the bottom, not the chat. You can use the chat to obviously network with each other, to introduce yourself, etc. But if you have questions for me, it's much easier for me if you put them in the Q&A box, because that way I can locate them at the end. Otherwise, it's sometimes very difficult for me to find your questions if they are buried in 100 comments. So again, if you have a question for me, then please put it into the Q&A box, and I will get to as many questions as possible at the end of this webinar. Okay, but now we can jump right in with the content. So today we're going to talk about nonprofit crowdfunding. So how to start your crowdfunding campaigns. Again, my name is Eva. I've been working for Philanthropia for quite a while now, I think since 2016 or something like that. And I'm based in Germany, so I'm sitting in gloomy Germany right now. It's raining outside. We don't have good weather. And I have a PhD in geography. I used to work in Nepal in development projects. And yeah, kind of my pet peeve, my favorite topic is sustainability and obviously resource mobilization for small NGOs. So today we will talk about a couple of different things. We'll start by a definition. What is crowdfunding, so that we're all on the same page? What are we talking about when we say crowdfunding? Then we will give you a little introduction on the platforms you can use, but that will just be very quick because the requirements and all the rules are very different for the platforms, and it also depends a lot on the country that you're in, which platform might be the best for you. And then we will talk about which kinds of projects this works for, how you have to structure your page, and how you can make a crowdfunding campaign successful. So what are the elements to a successful campaign? What are the things that you should include? So we'll start with a definition, which is rather lengthy, but crowdfunding is defined as the use of small amounts of capital from a large number of individuals to finance a new business venture. Crowdfunding makes use of the easy accessibility of vast networks of people through social media and crowdfunding websites. So it's online. That is the distinctive character. And it brings investors and entrepreneurs together with the potential to increase entrepreneurships by expanding the pool of investors beyond the traditional circle of owners, relatives, and venture capitalists. So this definition of crowdfunding is taken from the business realm. And you will see on the next slide, when we talk about crowdfunding for NGOs or crowdfunding in the nonprofit sector, obviously we think about donations, but crowdfunding is a business tool that has been developed to fund businesses, to bring more people into funding businesses. So we have crowd investing, where many people kind of put their funds together, pool up the money that they have available and invest together in something that they have predefined. We have crowd lending, where people lend money, but you put it together into a pool, and that is actually nothing new. I think many developing countries actually have this system for emergencies, for example, that whenever somebody has an emergency, everybody puts something in, and that person is supposed to pay it back if they can at some point to get something to pay for, sometimes a medical emergency, sometimes education, whatever it might be. And then we have a pre-sale system that also works with the crowdfunding tools, where you have a product, but it's not done yet, it's not finished. And instead of trying to get the money from someone and finish it, you make pre-sale. So you already sell the unfinished product, and then you deliver once you have produced something, and that gives you the capital to actually produce something. And then we have this third part, which is donations. And this is what we're going to talk about today. The crowdfunding part that produce donations, because crowdfunding can be a very, very powerful tool if you have a big network. If first of all, if your cause is something that attracts the attention of many people, and then if you have a vast network of people, and if those people were also willing and able to share your project and to share it with their network. So we have this snowball system that if one person shares with 10 other people and then 10 other people share again and again and again, then you get a huge audience, and that audience can grow very, very quickly. So that's why this is interesting for donations. This works specifically if you have a pre-existing network, if your cause is something that works very well for crowdfunding, so if you can create emotions, etc., and in emergency situations. So I've had the best experiences. Well, it sounds wrong to use the word best because it was such a horrible situation, but after the earthquake in Nepal, we had a crowdfunding campaign, and because of this urgency of the natural catastrophe that happened, that got shared a lot, that was available very quickly, and we actually received a lot of money through that channel, and it actually really helped us to support the people in the field, and to kind of get that immediate connection to potential supporters as well. So this is what we're going to talk about today. How can you use crowdfunding to actually get donations for your project, to get more support for your project, and how that works. So how does it work? Well, it's kind of the same. So you, instead of applying for a grant and getting the full lump sum, or talking to individual donors that can give you large sums, because you can also talk to major donors. Sometimes people can give $10,000, $5,000, a lot of money. But instead of doing that, you try to broaden your audience, and you try to get small sums from many people, so that then in the end, the money that you receive is also big enough to actually implement your project. But it comes with very different strings attached, because usually when you have major donors, they also want to be pampered. They need a lot of attention, and they need a lot of you need to call them. Sometimes you need to meet with them. You kind of need to pamper them if they are major donors, if they would give big sums. If somebody gives you $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, that's still money, but they don't expect you to call them and thank them, or to invite them to your gala or something like that, because they just, it's easier to give that kind of money. So usually the work that you have to put in to convince them to give you that amount of money is not comparable to the amount of work that you would have to put in to get someone to give you a gift of 10,000 or even more. So the idea of crowdfunding is to get as many people as possible to give you a small amount, and then still get the final amount that you need. That doesn't mean that crowdfunding is less work. It's just a very different work, and we will see that you still have to do many things, and you have to go through many steps that are really important to become successful and to run a successful campaign. So it's not necessarily less work, can be even more work, but it's a different work. So there's different platforms that you can use, because crowdfunding is, most of the times it's run through a platform, an external platform, which gives you and your organization a lot of credibility as well. Not all of them have like super complicated ways of signing up, but I think it was Global Giving where you actually had to apply. So you have to run through a process and you need approval. So that's already something that is showing that your project is approved, that it's a good project that is worth supporting, etc. So it gives you credibility. It's also nice because they all have a really nice setup for the pages, so you don't have to worry about how to design your crowdfunding page. You don't have to think about design elements, or also how people could pay you, because all of that is handled by the platform. Obviously, that often means that they also take a fee for that, but usually that fee is very reasonable, and sometimes they don't take a fee and people can donate additionally to the platform. They have different systems in place, but those platforms work very, very well to help you to get your campaigns running. Obviously, you can also do crowdfunding on your own website, but that is very difficult because a very important factor of crowdfunding is the transparency, and to kind of replicate that on your own website and by yourself is super, super difficult. So I would stick to one of these pre-existing platforms, again, for the legitimacy and also because it's much easier for you. So you have, for example, GoFundMe. That is a platform that is not only used for NGOs and for philanthropy. With GoFundMe, you can fund anything. So you can find people trying to collect money to go to a concert or for a medical emergency in their private circumstances, for anything, for business ventures, etc. So GoFundMe is very open there, but it can also be used for charities, obviously. Better Place, for example, is a platform from Germany that is only available for NGOs. So only NGOs can use this. Global Giving as well, and I believe that you have to register for Global Giving, and it takes you like a process to get in. Then we have others like Lychee, EcoCrowd. EcoCrowd is a German platform as well. I'm from Germany, so I have a couple of German examples, because here they focus on ecologic projects, on sustainable projects, looking more on those elements of projects. And then you have even Facebook does crowdfunding. Facebook has the possibility to crowdfund, and then you have this, you can do it for your birthday, whatever, and then donate the money. There's different ways that you can use those tools. So these are just some examples. You can do research, and you have to choose the platform that is best for you, because they all have different requirements. Some only accept, for example, with Better Place, I know you can apply, or you can start an account and start a project as an individual. And obviously you can also do so as a foreign NGO. But in that case, Better Place cannot issue a donation certificate. And that is something many people in Germany are interested in, because when you donate money, you can deduct it from your tax amount. But if you don't get that certificate, then you can't. And so that is something that is very interesting for German donors. And if you are a foreign NGO that cannot present those documents, or if you're an individual, you can still register, but you probably won't get as many donations. So that can be an issue. And then on Global Giving, again, you have to register, and I'm not sure if it's just for American NGOs or international as well. I think it's international as well, but you have to really look at the rules of every single one of those platforms and then choose one. I would not recommend you to make several profiles on several platforms just to be on as many as possible, because then again, it's difficult to keep track across the platforms, and it will be difficult for you to get traffic to all of them. So choose one and then just focus on that one. Except for Facebook. Facebook can be complementary, especially if you work with individual campaigns, but for the others, just choose one, stick with that, and use it. And what you also have to look at, especially from some of the countries that you operate in, is if you can receive the money, because that can also be an issue. Sometimes they will only release money into official bank accounts. And for some countries that doesn't work. Sometimes they use PayPal. For some countries, that doesn't work. So you really have to look into the systems behind those platforms and if they work for you, because it doesn't help you at all if you run a perfect campaign and you collect $1,000 to $2,000 and then you can't receive it because your bank account isn't compatible, or you have to use PayPal and you can't, or whatever it might be. So really check every single requirement of those platforms and make sure it works for you and for your organization before you choose one and make a profile. So this is an example page of a crowdfunding page on global giving. They look a bit different on all the platforms, but basically they have the same elements that we will talk about now and that are very important in everyone in their own right has importance. This is the usual page that you can make. So as an admin, if you register your organization, then usually you can register projects, individual projects that you can set up as pages like this. And then you would share the link to this page. This is where people would get to make their donations. So we have different elements on this page. And we will look at a couple in more detail, but just the overview, you have the heading, which is important. You can look at articles that we have written about how to develop a great title for a proposal, and this is very similar. It should be catchy. It should have the country in it. It should have, if anything, innovative, anything nice is in there. Anything special, whatever, using technology or using apps, whatever, some innovative element, you can also already mention that. Here, this is a great title because it's also a plead. It talks to the audience directly. It describes what it is and it has the location in it. So think a bit about the title you want to use so that it has everything that you need in it. And then you have pictures. We will talk about that as well. You have to use pictures as much as you can, because what you want to do here is you want to create emotion. And that's much easier if you have visual media, if you can use pictures, videos, etc. So they chose a really nice picture here with happy children. It says thank you. So this is a really great start into the project. You have more pictures that you could click through at the bottom. Then you have a summary of the story, summary of the financial needs, etc. You can have reports here, news, how the project is going, more pictures, and the different share options. And then on the right side, you have the full amount that you're going for and the donate button. And then you split this up into kind of packages. And we'll talk in a second about why that is so important. And how you can go about that. So first, let's talk about the summary. That is very important because it will, it will give a summary and it will give an idea of what your project is about on a first glance. So I think usually you have a character limit for this part of your description. So you should be really, really succinct. You should really explain what your project is about in few words so that it can be open on this first page and you don't want more rolling text here. You have the opportunity to explain more at the bottom, but the summary really needs to catch people's attention. It needs to explain how many kids will be influenced or how many people, what your target group is, how big your target group is. In this case, it's kids. And what you want to do with them. So you can follow that kind of that rule of W's, or I don't know how it's exactly called in English, but those W questions. Who wants to do what, when, where, and how, and why? Kind of cover all of those aspects in the summary so that you can convince people that this project that you want to implement is amazing, that it really needs support, and that you're doing a great job here, and that this project should be supported. Yeah, then you have this section. So first is the story, so that this kind of unfolds, then you describe the challenge, you describe what you want to achieve, etc. Then you have reports, and that is extremely important because what people, many people that give to crowdfunding campaigns are younger people, and what they are looking for is accountability because they feel, many people feel like if they donate to a charity, to an NGO, the money just disappears and they don't know what happens with it. So they want to know. That's what the internet is for. That's what these crowdfunding campaigns are for, to be accountable. So whenever you have a milestone, whenever something great happens in your project, or just if you haven't published a report in a while, you should write a report, you should publish news. I know that, for example, in Better Place, in that platform from Germany, every time you request that they send you some of the money that they collected for you into your bank account, you have to publish a statement what you're going to do with that money, because they are all about accountability. They want to see your progress. They want to see what exactly you're doing. And people, when they make the decision, if they want to support your project, they will click that button and they will see if you have published news. So if you haven't published news in 9 months, they will be wondering what's happening with that project. Nothing happening? Why is there no meeting? Why is nothing updated? So you really need to use that reports part or the news or whatever it might be called on different platforms. Update people if you have a meeting, if there was like a party, a festival, if something new is built, if something is opened, or if it's just like after 3 months, publish again, we have been doing these and these things on the administrative side, whatever it might be, but just let people know what you are doing because you want to show that progress. Super important. And again, accountability is always important, but on crowdfunding homepages, it's even more important because people are really after that. They want to see what's happening with their money. Then you have the photo tab. Again, super important to publish pictures because pictures will lead to people having emotions. And that's what you want to achieve with your crowdfunding campaign. You can describe a situation, but if you can show a picture of the situation, that's always better. Try to use good pictures, good quality. No, this picture of smiling kids is a good picture. You shouldn't use negative pictures of people like really suffering, even if your project is dealing with part of that. You always have to really think about ways of showing people with respect, first of all, because if you show people in their misery and in their kind of lowest moment, that's not very respectful. And again, that is something where there's a lot of scrutiny, especially on these platforms. And you also want to inspire positive emotion, because if you look at that picture, you feel nice. You feel like, oh, if I donate to this project, then these kids will be happy. They will be smiling. And that's a good feeling. And if you have a good feeling when you do something, then you will repeat it. If you have a bad feeling, if those kids were all, if you would have like the typical kid sitting in the sand with a big belly because and being very skinny, you would maybe donate because you feel sorry, but that isn't a good feeling. You feel like, oh yeah, this is helping, but you still have that horrible image in your head, which I know that the situation often is horrible. And I'm not saying to kind of not show the reality, not that, but if you can, and if you have ways of showing the positive aspects of your work and the changes that you inspire in the communities, that is better because that inspires positive emotions. And that's what you want to achieve long term. And then you have the different share buttons there here on the right side, that you can't change that. I think you can maybe just distinguish or tell them which buttons should be included, and obviously include as many as possible. And always encourage your followers to use that button and to share as much as possible. So again, this section very important, especially the news section. Then we have the total amount. Here you also have to choose carefully which amount you want to put, and how much you should put there. It needs to be something realistic. Let's put it that way, because psychologically, this is a very good stage of that campaign. Because even though the amount is big and nobody will probably give 20,000 to a crowdfunding campaign in one go, but it feels achievable. It feels like it can be done. If you have this high amount, 160,000 euros, and it's just and the line is just in the beginning, so it feels like, oh, they just received 1,000. It's less than 1%. Then people tend to not donate because they want to accomplish something. And if it's just accomplishing the sum, if you have the choice, if somebody needs $1,000 and has 10, and you have 10 euros, and somebody else needs 1,000 and has 990, you probably will give the $10 to the person who has 990, because then you can accomplish that job for them, and it also is a good feeling for you. And if you just give your $10 to the person who has $10 and needs 1,000, then it's just a drop on a hot stone, so it will not change their situation. That's a little bit the psychology behind it. So choose an amount that you think that you can actually raise. So if you do your very, very first crowdfunding campaign, don't start with 10,000 or 100,000 euros, because you're probably not going to get that. Start with something smaller, 1,000, 2,000, something realistic. If donations keep pouring in, you can still adjust that amount on at least on the platforms that I have been working with. You can always adjust the amount and say, well, okay, this is going very well, so we are extending the project, or we are adding elements to it. Of course, that has to be reflected in the summary then. So then the amount can become bigger, or you can start a new project, a second one, whatever. But don't start too big, because there's nothing more depressing than a big ask from an NGO that doesn't receive enough payments. Because again, if you manage in your very first campaign, if you manage to raise $2,000, that's great. But if your goal was 10, it still feels like failure, and that's nothing you want to kind of perpetuate. You want to perpetuate that you're doing great work and everything's working well for you, and your campaign is successful and your projects are successful. So choose a realistic amount. And again, if you don't have a huge network and you're just starting out, that realistic amount is probably a bit lower. Definitely not 100 or 200,000. This is a big NGO. So obviously that was realistic, but they have almost 6,000 people who donated. That is unrealistic for a small NGO that just starts out. 10, 20 is more realistic. So then you should also go to an amount that is accordingly. And then we have this part that you can also determine for yourself. And this is super important, because one reason why these crowdfunding campaigns are so successful is that people often want to donate, but they feel if they just donate to UNICEF, to a big charity, they don't know what happens with the money. And they like to know that. So here you can kind of divide your big amount that you need into small packages. How much is one small package? How much is, in this case, because it's about children, they say $11 will provide 40 children lunch today. So it's a great feeling. If you give $11, you know now it's not just this, okay, I gave $11 to charity, but now you know with this money, with my money, 40 children will eat. That's a great feeling. And then it's so easy to say, well, oh, I could make it 80, or I could make it for 2 days if I just give double. That's a good feeling, and that's what you want to kind of trigger. You want people to feel good and feel happy about their decisions and feel happy about the donation. So you have to find kind of packages that make sense in your project. So what I used to put or manage a couple of construction projects where we, for example, we constructed toilets in Nepal, and we were collecting money for that. So we would put bricks. 100 bricks cost $10. Or I don't remember exactly the price. I don't remember how much it was, but we had like packages of 100 bricks, 1,000 bricks, 20 sticks of bamboo, one toilet seat. Because those are funny things. Because then people say, "Oh, I bought a toilet seat for Nepal." That's something they can tell, they can share on social media, stuff like that. So you kind of have to divide it up into these packages where people can really imagine what they are actually donating. So it's more than money. It has not only the monetary value, but it has actually something attached to it. And obviously choose the amounts in a way that, like they did here, you probably won't donate $11. You probably will donate 15. So don't say this costs $10, but say 11, because then maybe people will scale up. Or if you choose to donate 46 euros, you will probably donate 50 euros, just to make it round. So choose the amounts that you put there. Obviously, it has to reflect the value of what you put there. But if you can choose, you could say $10 will feed 40 children, or 11 or 12. You will probably not have the 100% correct value for what you're putting there. So then I would always choose maybe the higher one, or the one that is not necessarily always the higher one, but the one that kind of probably leads to higher donations as well. So you have to think about it this way a little bit. And of course, people can donate any amount they want. They don't have to stick to this system, but it's really nice and in helping people imagining what they are actually donating for. And that is key here, because that's something that is lacking in many of the other projects that I'm just using UNICEF as an example because it's a big INGO. But if they just say, "Oh, we work with children here and there," then people just cannot really picture what their money is used for. So those are the most important parts of that page, and the most important parts that you can design, because you have to fill out all those sections, but you have a lot of freedom in what you put in there. So think and make a concept with your team before you fill out everything, so that everything falls in place nicely. What are the requirements to open an account or to open a page, to design a page? They differ with each platform. Like I said, you really have to check the rules and regulations of every single platform to see if that works for your NGO. And if you are eligible, because they are different for every single platform that you could use. Usually what you need is some form of registration. Sometimes, like with GoFundMe, you can be an individual, that's no problem. But often if you need an official entity, you need your registration documents, and they need to be up to date, obviously. Sometimes you need your tax documents. If you need to be a tax-exempt entity, then you need to show your tax exemption, that you are an NGO, a charity, or whatever the word in your country might be. And then obviously you need to put in your account information. So where should the money go once you receive money? So it's when people donate, that money doesn't go immediately to your bank account. They collect it for you, and usually you have to request a payout. So again, you have to check if that works for you in the country that you are situated in. Sometimes they want to use PayPal, sometimes it's bank account. If it is bank account and there's fees attached to it, then the platform won't cover those fees. You have to cover them. You have to find a way to not to make it as cheap and as affordable as possible, which I know can be an issue, and I know that is a big issue for many of you because those financial structures are not in place everywhere. But unfortunately, we kind of have to deal with the situation as it is at the moment, and find the best solution out of it. So what are projects that can work very well on crowdfunding platforms? Because not all projects are a good fit for those platforms. Obviously, if you have projects with visual media, those usually work very well. So if you have a film material, pictures, if you can produce those media materials, that always helps. If your project deals with I don't know, updating policy, not even lobbying, but just like updating stuff or statistics or something like that, it's very, very difficult to sell that on a crowdfunding platform. It's selling, by selling, I mean to get attention and get donations for that. But if it's something flashy and nice, where you work with people and you can produce pictures and videos of people doing stuff, well, that's much easier, obviously. So you really have to look at your projects and decide if they are projects that would work on a platform like that. So any project that inspires emotion is great, because again, this is all about emotion. People want to feel positive, they want to feel something good, they want to feel inspired. And if your project can do that, then yeah, that's definitely a plus, and that will make it easier on crowdfunding platforms to get attention. And for example, here in last year, that was the city of Munich in Germany. It's a big city. They have resources, they have a marketing department, everything. They wanted to do a crowdfunding campaign. I think I don't even remember what it exactly was for, because it was done so badly, because it didn't inspire any emotion. It didn't have great visual media. They plastered the entire city with advertisements for it, but they collected very little money because people didn't feel inspired by that. They didn't use their materials correctly. And so that campaign was a huge failure, because I think in general, the project wasn't the best fit for a crowdfunding campaign. And then on top of it, they didn't use their materials properly. So the whole thing was a failure. And it actually became a laughing stock at that moment. Yeah, projects that are interesting, that have some innovative elements that people want to talk about, want to share about. Those are always very interesting, that maybe have a little twist, that have a new element, that work with target groups, etc. All those are good fits for projects that work on crowdfunding campaigns, platforms. And obviously, if your project, your organization already has a huge following on social media, because that is what you will need. If your organization doesn't have a Facebook page and has no homepage and no Instagram and nothing, and the people in your project don't have that either, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to get a successful crowdfunding campaign to start, if not impossible, because what you do need is people to share your campaign. If you send out your campaign to your 10 supporters that always support you and they give you money, well, then you don't need a crowdfunding campaign. Then you can just ask those 10 people to donate directly to your account. What you want is people sharing and and you want to reach new people that didn't know about your project before. And that is in today, this is only possible through email or social media to get that kind of reach and to achieve that kind of snowball effect. And I've seen statistics, for example, that have shown that if one person shares your campaign, like the average person with the average amount of connections, if they share your crowdfunding page, your crowdfunding campaign, that equals, I think it was 13 euros, because the probability that then more people see it and somebody else donates is so high. So it's actually worth, if you kind of calculate it that way, worth 13 euros. So you can also, even if people cannot donate, if they share, that's also worth a lot. So yeah, I started talking about that. Your network is so important, and it's crucial for the success of your crowdfunding campaign, because those pages need to be shared. If they're not shared, they're dead. They're just lying around and nothing will happen with them. So you need to engage your network regularly. if you have social media pages, you need to kind of put material on there, and again, also before you have a crowdfunding campaign. So it's funny to see if you have these. Sometimes I look at Facebook accounts of NGOs just to see what's out there, and if you see like nothing for months, nothing, and then there's a crowdfunding campaign, and suddenly every second day they post a crowdfunding page, and then nothing again. Well, then that's not engaging your network. That is just posting your crowdfunding link, and that doesn't work properly. If you plan to use crowdfunding and to use these techniques as a financing tool, then you have to be working your social media accounts constantly. You have to put new material on, you have to reach out, you have to engage your network, you have to develop your network, even when you don't have a campaign, because then if you have one, people will be happy to support you. But if you only talk to them when you need something from them, then they will probably not be very happy to share and support. How can you make your project shareable? So how can you make it, design it in a way that people will want to share? Again, use visual media, pictures, videos, short clips, graphics, whatever you have to make it look nice and appealing. Then you can use storytelling tools. So instead of just putting facts on there, you should tell the stories of people either from your target group or from your organization or other donors that went through this process and wanted to support you. So those are important steps. I think we have a webinar or maybe even a course. I think it's a webinar on storytelling in fundraising. So you should check that out as well, because it is super important. Don't use pity, please. I said that before when we talked about pictures. It's, of course, if people feel sorry for the target group you're working with, maybe they will give money, but that is often not sustainable, because then they will not give again because they didn't feel good about it. What they want is a project that they feel good about because they make those kids happy. The situation changed, their money had an impact. Stuff like that is what you kind of want to achieve in the brain. And so again, if there's a natural catastrophe, then earthquake or flood, yeah, the situation is miserable. And then sometimes you have to kind of use those pity pleas, you have to use those techniques. But if you have a long-running project, you should focus on the positive stories. Create emotions, create positive emotions. Don't make people cry. Don't make them feel sad all the time. Try to focus on those positive emotions, on the inspiration, etc. And engage the supporters long-term. If somebody always shares your stuff, donates small amounts, and is always there for you, then maybe send them a thank you. Could be a message on Facebook, that's enough. Or try to engage people and kind of engage your network so that they feel part of it and they feel that you appreciate the work that they do for you once they share and do stuff like that. How can you create emotion? For example, if readers can identify with the story you're telling. So if you're telling a story about someone, like a member of the target group you're working with, that overcame challenges, overcame a tricky situation, people can emphasize with that. And maybe they also overcame something. And then they emphasize with that, and they want to support that person in their way. Or you can also put, when we talk about storytelling, you can put the donor in the middle of the story. So tell the story of another donor. How did they come to the decision to give a donation to your organization? And why are they so happy that they did? That can also make people identify with that person and say, well, I could be that person. I could also give some money and be happy about it. Put in very simple terms, obviously, it doesn't work that way, but that's the gist of it. Readers need to feel something positive. I think we've gone over that enough. And the need for support has to be communicated clearly. So that's what these amounts are for. You have to tell, whenever you send out an email or you ask people to do something, attach a very clear call to action. Tell them exactly what you want from them, what you need from them, what kind of support they can give you to make sure that the project is a success. Develop your network. social media is crucial, but also stuff like having a newsletter and having a big newsletter list is really super, super important for you to get that reach when you need it, when you have a campaign going. So develop those networks, work on your social media, collect emails for a newsletter, obviously always following every single rule and regulation attached to that, but then also send out newsletters every now and then and inform people about the project, even when you don't have a campaign. Don't only reach out when you need money. That's never a good thing to do. And yeah, make sure that you have the resources to do that, because I know that sounds easy, like always have your social media up to date, but it's actually a challenge because it's a lot of work. And so if you want to start this, make strategic decisions about which channels you want to use, how you want to use them, how you want to engage people, and look at your own organization to see if you have the resources to do that. Do you have the people? Do they have the skills? Do they maybe need further training? Do you have the money for that before you start? Because if you, with social media as well, if you just start many social media channels and then you can't kind of feed them, can't keep up with them, that's a problem, because it looks worse to have a Facebook channel where the last pictures are from 2020 than to have no Facebook channel. And to have, with a crowdfunding campaign, I think it's not that bad, but if you publish a crowdfunding campaign and nothing is moving, then people will also doubt if your project is actually working and if you are active. So decide if you have the resources to keep all those things updated, and only go for it if you do have the resources. Yeah, with that, we come to the end of the content I prepared. I just want to let you know that at the moment we have our book on sale, the NGO Guide to Proposal Writing. So if you're planning to write write proposals for grants or to apply for grants, I can only recommend this book. It has also a full proposal template that really helps you to structure your proposal, and the ultimate proposal checklist that makes sure that you don't forget anything. Usually we sell that at $25, and today with the coupon code webinar 2023, you can actually get it for $12.50. So if you want to learn about proposal writing, all the elements to it, who should be involved in it, etc., then I can only recommend this book. It has, I don't know, I think it's about 10 or 20, I'm not sure, but it has many, many sample proposals as well that you can read to see how others did it and to get some inspiration from. So I think that's always very helpful. We also sell more online courses that you can check out. So we have tons of topics, from basic like online fundraising and writing a project plan, to more specific stuff like fundraising from USAID, or how to create a log frame, stuff like that. So if you want to learn more about those areas, please check out philanthropia.org, and you can find all of our courses listed there. We have a couple of free ones as well that you can look at. And yeah, I think we cover most topics concerned to proposal writing there. Because you joined today with the coupon code fundraise, from all these courses that you just saw, you can also get a 35% discount with this coupon code. So if you see anything interesting, get it now with this coupon code. We also have the donor database. That's especially interesting if you are looking for grants and opportunities, because there's in the database, there's more than 5,000 donors. So you just put in the country that you work in, the areas that you work in, and then you get a list of potential donors that you then obviously have to research further. But it gives you a great head start, and it really saves you a lot of time. You can try this for a week for free. After that, it's a paid service, but at a very reasonable price. So yeah, if you do donor research, if you want to find potential supporters for your project, then we really recommend you try the donordatabase.org. And now we still have time for questions about crowdfunding. So let me check the Q&A box, because I've seen there's a couple in there. So the first question is, could crowdfunding platforms be used from any country? So for example, from a Mongolian NGO. That depends on the platform. You really have to check the requirements of every single platform. I know, I think some of the German ones are specifically for German NGOs, or they need to have some tie to to Germany. I think Global Giving accepts from every country, but I'm not 100% sure. You would have to check the list of crowdfunding pages that is out there and look at their requirements. They explain that very well when you look at how to apply or can we be part of this. They really explain very well what you need to present and what kind of organization you have to be eligible to be on that platform. Yeah, second question is the same. How to become a member of the EcoCrowd platform? You have to check. You would have to go to their website and read through their regulations if that's an option or not. Because every single platform, and there's many out there, is different. And I can't really tell you at the top of my head. Then there's another question about the remuneration. That also differs. Some platforms collect a percentage, some collect a fixed fee, some give the donors the option to give to the platform as well. So the donors can choose if the money should go 100% to the project or also some money to the platform. Again, that is something that you have to check when you choose a platform that you want to work with. I think most of the platforms that work mostly for the charity sector, for the NGO sector, they don't have very high rates. But obviously that is a factor. And there might be some commercial ones that actually have higher rates, where it would actually make no sense for you to go there. So that is something you have to calculate and you have to look at. Again, the same goes for bank transfers, if there's fees attached to that. Because often there's a very high, I know when I want to send money from here to Nepal, there's a very high fee attached to that. So you have to calculate that as well, because the platform is not going to cover that. Are platforms interested to specific topics or projects? Yeah, some of them are. So I think, again, GoFundMe, I think they accept anything. Global Giving is development strictly. Then again, this eco thing is just sustainable projects, ecological project. It depends, and on the platform, you really have to check their requirements and see, and also see where your project fits in. In general, if you have the choice, if your final choice is between like a tiny one and a bigger one, a more known one, I would always choose the more known one, because again, one thing that we're trying to overcome with being on a crowdfunding platform is this transparency issue and the trust issue, because people might not trust you, your NGO, if they would just find you randomly on the internet, but they do trust Global Giving. So if you have the choice between a big platform that is known, that has a good reputation, and a smaller one that is maybe not known as much, then I would always choose the bigger one, because that again adds another layer of credibility to your project and your organization. How should we announce our campaigns to our donors? Yeah, so usually there's different ways. There's many different ways how you can do that. What you usually see is there's this sharing on social media. So you would share a post on social media saying, now we have this new crowdfunding campaign. If you have a newsletter, obviously include that in the newsletter, send out emails to past supporters, always explaining if this is what we're trying to do, we're collecting donations, but if you can't donate, or even if you do donate, please share. Please share. Always ask people to share, because that's what you want. If enough people know about your campaign, you will also get money for it. So use different ways, but you could also have like a launch event for your crowdfunding campaign. Many people, bigger organizations do that. Have something specific attached to it. just to try to get more reach. So you can think of many, many different ways to launch your campaign and to kind of publicize this. But the easiest, the most common one is to just send out a newsletter and put it on social media and ask people to share it and push it and place it strategically. Yeah, and then there's the next question is, I've mentioned that before, most of the crowdfunding websites need a Stripe account. And in this case, the person asking is from South Sudan. That's an issue, that's a big issue. And I don't have the solution for that. Sometimes you can kind of get around it if you collaborate with maybe an NGO from a different country that can get a Stripe account. And sometimes there's ways around it, but it is tricky. We have the same problem in Nepal, that we couldn't receive PayPal payments for a long time. And sometimes I think if you can't find a solution by partnering with someone, maybe contact that platform directly and explain your problem and ask them if they have any ideas for you, because you're not the first organization that is happening to. But yeah, you kind of have to wiggle your way around, although that is not ideal. I know that. Then there's a question about storytelling, how to develop a storytelling tool. I don't know if how I don't exactly understand the question. I think storytelling just speaks to how you tell, how you communicate with supporters, with readers. So instead of just telling them facts, you put everything into stories so that people can emphasize with that more. Our brains are able to remember stories much better than just facts. So if you tell someone, it's just made up numbers, but if you tell someone 50% of girls don't go to school when they have their period, well, that's a number, that's a fact. Okay, I can try to remember that. But if you tell the story, like Maria can't go to school today because she's on her period and there's no toilet at the school, and then Maria says in that story, oh, I feel bad, I would like to go to school. Half of the girls in my class don't go to school when they have the period because there's just no toilet and we don't know what to do, we don't know where to change, etc. That is something that you remember. It's the same fact, but kind of wrapped up in a story, and that stays in a state. Did you remember that much better? I think the number was even 8 times better or something, because our brain, humans are kind of grew up with stories. That's a very common way for us to absorb information, and we're very used to that. And it also stimulates different regions in the brain when you hear a story instead of just facts. So we remember things better, and it creates emotions, and that's what we want to do. So then there's a question about the specific, so which platforms are more open to crowdfunding for infrastructure as opposed to funding for programs? I think, I wouldn't know that. I'm sorry, you would have to check. I think most of the ones that are open for development funding are open to infrastructure as well. But yeah, some might have different regulations. Again, you would have to check on the website of those platforms. Do we have any link for a professional course on proposal writing with a certificate issued? Yeah, we do have a 5-module course that goes over 5 weeks. That's our flagship course that teaches you everything from how to develop a strategy to how to find donors, how to network with them, how to figure out your eligibility, and then proposal writing. We focus a big part of this on proposal writing. I think my team maybe put the sorry, I'm reading the chat right now. I'm a bit confused. So you can find the course is called 5 Obstacles to Fundraising Success, and you can find it on philanthropia.org. It's yeah, a bigger course, and I'm seeing that there's some issues with apparently with the vouchers. with the coupon codes. I'm very sorry for that. So if we can't figure it out throughout this webinar, you will get a follow-up email with a code that will work. We will fix it. I don't know if the team can fix it while we're doing the webinar, because we just have a couple of minutes left. But if it's not working right now, it will work later in the day or tomorrow, and we will keep, obviously, we will keep the promotion open so that you can take advantage of it. So we will fix that issue and send you an email in case we have to change the coupon code. Okay, I will take the last question about the proper call to action. What are do's and don'ts? Well, it's basically just ending every piece of communication with a call to action, saying like, please share this, and or please donate, share this, contact us, comment here, stuff like that. Just letting people know how they can support this, because again, obviously donating is the best way they can support your project. If they can give money, but if they can't do that, they could share, they could comment if it's social media. Sorry, it just came really quick. I had to sneeze. So, if they comment or they like your post, stuff like that, that will also create more visibility and create more engagement. So you can put those things in there. And I think that's not calling for. I mean, I wouldn't put donate for these poor children, something, not that, but you can support us with a donation of $10 to pay for the lunch for 20 children. That's not a pity plea, I would say. Of course, we're pleading with people because, yes, we want something from them, but it's something realistic. It's nothing out in the outfield, and it's not a pity plea, I would say. Again, I wouldn't say save these children or stuff like that, but just something that you want people to do to support this project. Okay, I think it's already 12:05. Thank you so much for joining and for listening in. If you've missed part of this, we will upload the video on YouTube and share that link with you as well. So you can also share with your colleagues if you want to. And again, I'm very sorry if there's any issues with those coupon codes. I'm sure that issue will be fixed very quickly, and then it will work. There is a link posted right now in the comments for the resource guide that should work. So maybe we can keep this open for a little bit so that you can click the link if you're interested. And otherwise, it will also be sent out by email later. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm with one eye. I'm reading the chat, trying to figure out if it works now or not, but I can't tell. Well, but if it doesn't work now, you'll get the link in the email, and I will stop talking now. But thank you so much for being part of this webinar, and I see you next time. Bye-bye.